Welcome back to Packs and Picks. I've got here our deck build for our second sealed pool. In the previous video, we opened 6 packs of Bloomburrow, and I'm here to show you the deck that I ended up with. So I'm going to start laying that out right now, and we'll talk about some of the things that I've got going on in this deck. So it is a green and red deck, trying to use some of our rares that we opened up in the pool. We did get that mythic dragon, so that definitely pulled me into red. And then just a lot of consistency in red and green that I like, which is what made me end up in red and green. All right, so here's the deck right here. Very creature heavy deck. Like I said, it's red and green. First things first, we've got Dragonhawk here at the top end of the curve, so 5/5 flyer, looking to get some value at the top end. To help us get there, we've got a decent amount of ramp. We've got 2 of these Wandertail Mentors and 1 3-tree Root Weaver. So I think with these 3 mana dorks, we should be able to cast our Dragonhawk definitely on curve, but maybe even on turn 4. And then we also have a couple of these Raccoon Ralliers, just a 2 mana 2/2, but does allow us to tap it and give a creature haste. So potentially in the right setup, we could even have a hasty Dragonhawk on turn 4 with the Raccoon Rallier. And those aren't the only raccoons we've got. We actually have these 2 Keen-Eyed Curators, which are just going to be 2 mana 3/3s when they come in, but later in the game we could exile some cards from graveyards, bring it up to a 7/7 with Trample. I'm not really relying on that too much, but just having that above rate 2 mana 3/3 is really what put me into green-red here. So with that, we do have 7 raccoons in the deck, so things like Take Out the Trash get a little bit more valuable. We've got 3 copies of this, so we do have a decent amount of interaction. The way I see this deck playing it out is having a really consistent early presence with 2 Keen-Eyed Curators, 2 Raccoon Ralliers, 2 Wandertail Mentors. I think we'll have a really consistent early game. Use some of the Take Out the Trash to clean up some of the other chaff that's on the board, and then hopefully ramp into Dragonhawk or ramp into some of our higher costed spells a little bit earlier. Some of the other things at the top end, we've got a Quake Tusk Spore. We've got a Head of the Homestead. This is the only card in the deck that gives us tokens, so we actually don't have a lot of tokens in this version, this green deck, which usually you see a lot of tokens in green, but just Head of the Homestead is our only token generator. And then we've got Hivespine Wolverine for a little bit of interaction if our opponents are playing artifacts or they have creature tokens of their own. Other than that, there's not a ton of interaction in the deck besides a couple burn spells. We've got Overprotect, High Stride for some combat tricks. So we're really just relying on our early creature drops to stabilize the board and ramp us into some bigger creatures a little bit earlier. In the sideboard, we did have 1 rare for the Common Good. Cares about copying target tokens that we control, but because, like I said, we don't have a ton of tokens in the deck, this one's going to stay in the sideboard. And then similarly, we do have, I could see an option to splash for white using something like Fountainport Bell and bringing in something like Bailey and the Haymaker. But then again, they care about having tokens, and we just don't have a lot of token generation in this version of the deck. And really, throughout the pool, we didn't have a ton of tokens in white either if we were to do like a red-white or a green-white build and splash in the 3rd color. So this is going to stay in our sideboard as well. As far as other sideboard cards, we've got Might of the Meek, War Squeak. We've got 2 Treetop Sentries if we've played against a lot of flyers. And then I like these 2 cards just because we are very creature heavy, that maybe in some of our games we see a need to pump up some of our creatures or just give them a little more muscle to get through. So these might come in out of the sideboard. As far as the rest of the pool, the only other thing I could see driving us towards a different color deck would be a black-white or black-red version, maybe black-red splashing white. We had a decent number of the life gain, life loss matters cards in the pool, in things like Starseer Mentor, Fireglass Mentor, and then Cindering Cutthroat, which we do have 1 in our red-green deck, but we've got another 1 in the pool. So I could see this being another version of the deck where we do top out with Dragonhawk still, but then we're relying on some of these life loss, life gain synergies early on. I just like the look of the consistency in the 2-drop slot, a little bit of that Raccoon synergy with Take Out the Trash, and that's why I went with green-red. But I think there's an argument for sure for a black life loss deck out of this pool as well. But that is it. Let me know your thoughts on this pool. Let me know your thoughts on this deck. Would you have taken the pool a different direction? I'd love to hear it, as well as your experience with Bloomburrow overall. And stick around because there are more sealed decks coming for Bloomburrow soon. I'll see you later.